tell you how happy I am to be here today. You know what? And God said, let there be light. And there is. Oh, good. And now I can see my notes. When I came up with this talk title, oh, no, wait a minute. I have to tell you about my commute. My commute this morning was fabulous.
Good.
It didn't start to sprinkle till I'm coming in from Ypsilanti, and it didn't start to sprinkle till I got to Dearborn Heights, and then it stopped, and then it started again, and then it stopped, and it was never at the point where the windshield wipers had to keep going like this. It was clunk, boom, and I thought, good, but I bought my umbrella because dimes to donuts, it's going to be raining by the time we head out that door. That's what it said. But the best part of the ride this morning was on Corton, which is also known as 16 Mile, Big Beaver. It depends on what end of it you're at. All of a sudden, I see everybody slowing down. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't Corton. It was Livernois. That's right, I was off Corton. It was Livernois. And I see everybody slowing down, and I'm thinking in both directions. And I'm looking, I don't see a car or a truck or a police car or anything. Finally, as I drop my eyes to the level of the cement, it's a family. Mm-hmm. It's a mama and a papa and 9 little Canada geese walking across like they own the place. And you know what, folks? They do. They do. And everybody just sat there. There was about 3 cars behind me and 2 in front of me and 4 on the other side. Nobody honked, nobody got. And when they finished going across, I applauded. And I held my hands up. And the people around me probably thought, oh God, she's crazy, and I didn't care. Who was I applauding? Well, I was applauding the geese, for one thing. I do believe that in my life, 9 is the largest number of babies that I've seen with one pair. That's pretty fantastic. And they were just like, okay, we're coming through, that's it. Like they owned the place. And I thought, boy, they know something we don't know. We don't think we own the place. And they do. They knew that. And I just was so excited about that. And it just was like, that was worth getting up in the morning and putting 50 miles on the car for. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, why in goodness names did she possibly choose this title? Can you ever really take a vacation from God? Well, I will tell you, as many of you know, I was ordained in 1987, and I took my first ministry in Syracuse, New York, which was nice because my parents were still living in Rochester, which meant that I was not much more than about 60 miles away from them, and they were already on in years. That worked out very nicely. And I got there about the end of August, and we got into autumn. Well, the next summer, in case you don't know this, you think you got a bad Michigan winter? Folks, until you've spent a winter in Syracuse, you ain't seen nothing yet. That year, or was it that year, we had 100 inches of snow before December 31st. I thought, wow. So of course, when summer came around, you know, this must have been, okay, the 21st is the summer solstice. That's next Sunday, in addition to, and it's officially summer. And up that far north like us, it can be a little late before you actually get to the summer weather, but the summer weather hit, and I looked out at the pews and went, where is everybody? And they said, oh, it's summer. We're taking a vacation. And I thought, folks, I don't know how to tell you this, but I don't think you can take a vacation from God. So I was working on that topic when Jackie said, she got in touch with me, she said, well, that's kind of an interesting title. What kind of music do you want? And I thought of This Is My Father's World, because that was one of the earliest unity hymns I ever heard back in the late 70s, early 80s when I started going to unity as a layperson. And I love it. And then she said, well, we have a soloist who's coming, and she was thinking about maybe singing Summertime. And I wrote back, and I thought, okay, Summertime, I'm living as easy. Okay, that's cool. And I said, yeah, terrific. And then I got to thinking about it, and I said to her, can you send me the lyrics? Because I remembered the verse one of these mornings. And she did. And I opened up my phone and I went, thank you, God. Because, friends, those words were written by George Gershwin, a man born in Brooklyn to immigrant Jewish parents who were grateful that they survived and that they were here. And I thought, I don't know what he believed, but boy, he nailed New Thought perfectly. He nailed it perfectly, and I thought, there's no taking a vacation from God. I'll say that right now, and I'll bring it around to the end as well. And the reason is, and here's the words, summertime. And I looked at summertime and I thought, and the living is easy. Yeah, no shoveling, no ice hacking, no salting the sidewalk, no sloshing your way in the parking lot, no 3 layers of long underwear, no, yeah, the living is easy in summertime. Fish are jumping. Friends, if you have ever opened the Metaphysical Bible, you will understand that fish stands for spiritual thought. Fish are jumping. The mind, our mind, which is centered in the one mind, which is the mind of God, is open, receptive, and responsive to spiritual thought. Now, I really knew a lot about fishing because my dad liked to fish. He was the, rod and reel kind of guy and had a box, and he would take me with him. And for a little while, he had a little rowboat. The rowboat never came home with us because he didn't have any way to bring it home. You couldn't put it in the trunk of the car, and he didn't have a trailer. And then one day I said, Daddy, how come we're not using the boat anymore? And he said, well, honey, I used to leave it on the riverfront and somebody took it. Well, I hope they enjoyed the boat as much as we did, but we still went fishing. And those fish that we ate that were big enough, would you believe it? Your minister knows how to whack a fish on the sidewalk and how to gut it and how to cook it? Yes, she does. You grab it by the tail with a cloth, otherwise it's going to slip right out of your hand, and you go whack. And it's instant death, which is a kindness for the creature who is now going to sustain you by being baked or fried or whatever. And I thought, God is so good. Then I looked at the cotton, and I thought, I have to tell you my cotton story. After I finished college, I joined the Peace Corps, and I went to Turkey. And I was in the middle of Turkey. Turkey, remember, kind of looks like your hand, and I was right in the middle, right there. And then we were driving, well, not driving around, we were riding around one day in a bus with the kids on a school trip. And I looked at my roommate and I said, Rosie, what is that fluffy white stuff growing on those bushes? She looked at me and she said, Linda, that's cotton. I said, well, Rosie, how would I know that? We didn't have cotton in upstate New York. You learn what you need to learn, folks, when you need to learn it. And then I thought about, and the cotton is high. What does that mean? Because what does cotton in this case represent? Potential. The cotton is high. The plant is high. The crop, if I may call it that, is ripe for plucking. And that, friends, is the divine time in which we all live. The infinite wisdom of God is always present to us through our participation in divine mind. There's only one mind, and we're in it. I mean, this whole talk is an example of that. I'm trying to think of what I want to say, and the one divine mind says, girl, have I got a story for you. And so the cotton is high, which means the potential in our mind, for example, for using our 12 competencies, already also known as the 12 powers, like imagination, discernment, understanding, those are always ready in there for us. And then it says, oh, your daddy's rich, and your ma is good looking. And I'm thinking, you betcha. For at least 4 years now, or since when Reverend Rosalind ever initiated the 40-day prosperity plan, I and another member of this congregation have been texting each other, rain or shine. We do 40 days, we take 2 days off, we start over, all over again. To build within our minds the consciousness of God's abundance, which exists, friends. So the cotton is high. Daddy's rich. Okay, I had to work a little bit on, and your ma is good looking. And then I thought, do you remember, Linda, the first time you ever heard the phrase in unity, Father, Mother, God? Now, for a girl who grew up in a Roman Catholic church, that was like, okay, there's the Mother Mary, but Mother God? Oh my goodness. I don't know if I can wrap my brain around that. But through the grace of God, friends, I came to understand that the motherly, the supportive, nurturing nature of God is co-equal with the guiding, directive nature of God. Beloveds, I will put you on the right path and I will keep you safe. So when you wake up in the morning and say, what do you want me to do today, God? God goes, honey, have I got a day for you? Have I got a day for you? And I'm going, wow. So hush, little baby. And it says, don't you cry. And I thought, quit your grousing, quit your complaining, quit your going, oh God. Friends, I will tell you that many years ago, I know a person who used to begin the day with a 4-letter word. That is not a way to start your day. I don't care what the 4-letter word was, how, nasty it was. You don't start with that. Why? Because thoughts held in mind bring forth after their kind. And I'm going to put it plainly. If you think about poop, guess what you're going to get for the rest of the day, folks? Yeah. And who's going to have to shovel it out of the way? You betcha. You betcha. And then I thought, wow, that's really good. But then I looked at the second verse, and I thought, wow, one of these mornings, you're going to rise up singing. Now, we know that Bob back there wakes up every morning, lays in his bed, starts to pray. I don't think he's singing it, but he's praying the Lord's Prayer out loud. And we know what his praying cat does. Runs from wherever it's coming, jumps up on the bed, jumps up on his chest, that he may feel the vibration of those vocal cords. Friends, that is a union. That is a union of all of God's creatures, a human being, an animal being. It's like the birds. Why do you think the birds sing in the morning? They go, oh goody, the sun's up for another day. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And I have read recently, I guess I've known this, but I never started doing it. One of the best ways to regulate your energy, what's called your circadian rhythm, is to get 10 minutes of morning sun. 10 minutes, bad news, folks, for those of us who can't see, any further than our hand without our glasses, that's okay. You don't need to see. In fact, you don't want to be looking at the sun. You don't want to be reading anything. You don't want to be wearing your sunglasses. You want to be sitting in the sun. So for some people who may have a need to wear colored glasses during the day, you sit with your back to the sun. Your body only needs to be in the sun. And I've noticed it makes a difference. I don't care what the neighbors think. My garage door is up. I'm sitting in my lawn chair. I'm probably in my nightgown and my bathrobe. My legs are crossed and the skirt's hiked up just a wee bit, and I might have a coffee in my hand. And since I can't read anything without my glasses, I've decided those are 10 minutes in which I pray. And I pray very specifically for the healing and the restoration of peace to our world and to all the countries in it for 10 minutes. That's the only focus. Then I go in the house, make my coffee, make my breakfast, start my day. Wow. So one of these mornings, we're going to rise up singing. Okay, are we really going to be singing? Probably not, but what is singing a metaphor for? Opening our words, speaking. You know what's coming next. What's her favorite thing to do in the morning after she gets out of bed? She runs in the bathroom, looks in the mirror, and goes, "Good morning, God. Thank you for yesterday. What am I going to thank you for today?" Friends, do we wake up with a thank you on our lips? Do we wake up with a thank you on our lips? So it is that voicing of our gratitude to the presence within who has sustained us overnight. Now, there's a lot of theories about where we go at night when we release our conscious mind and we fall asleep. It's been described as going to school. It's been described as going, they got a lot of ideas for it. I don't know. It's me just laying in my bed, cuddled up with the cat, and getting rest. If the Holy One is taking me to another dimension and infilling me with loving grace, then I say thank you. And if you get a bunch of weird dreams, well, if they're really good, take a look at them. If they don't make any sense, get rid of them. Throw them out. Do you ever have a crazy dream and go, where did that come from? Yeah. And I go, okay, too much pastrami on the pizza last night. Okay, not going to do that one again. So one of these mornings, in other words, at the beginning of your day, we rise in consciousness, voicing our gratitude to the infinite presence within us. And then it says, yes, not maybe, or here's how it says, yes, you will spread your wings and you'll take to the sky. What are our wings? I like to think that perhaps that is the powers of imagination. Like, what all could I do today? How all could I be today? To whom can I smile? Instead of, giving some other hand signal while striving. Not that I would ever do that. I wouldn't. I don't. I just mutter under my breath in foreign languages because then they can't read my lips. Okay, so moving on from that one. Take to the wings and you spread your wings, which is what? Opening your consciousness. And you'll take to the sky. We look at the sky, folks. How high is the sky? Well, we don't know. We're doing our darndest to measure it by sending more and more stuff up there, and now we're sending people up there, and we still don't know how infinite the universe is, in which we can be God made manifest. In which we can be God made manifest. But till that morning, there's nothing can harm you. I thought about that one, but till that morning. And I thought, Linda, how long have you waited for that morning? How long? It's ironic that we have this talk on a birthday Sunday. Another year has come and gone for our friends who celebrated this month. Are we still waiting for that morning? Have we not been awake and aware enough to say, today is the day? And what is it going to be? I don't know. Maybe it's going to be something as mundane as I'm going to clean out the garage, and I'm going to donate those unused garden tools, which I haven't touched in 10 years, to a charity. To a charity. And that is exactly what I'm going to do, because there is an organization in Ypsilanti called Growing Hope. It is a farm, about 1.5 acres. It's right smack in the middle of Ypsilanti. There's an old house there, and it's an organization that enables, well, it facilitates the farmers market from May to October, but it also has teaching programs for everybody from little kids, teens, to older folks. The other thing they do is they help people start a garden in their yard. So I talked to the director, and I said, if you can't use these tools, will you give them to people who are trying to? He said, absolutely, that's exactly what we're going to do. That's exactly what we're going to do. And I'm like so excited. And I'm looking, Linda, you're never going to hack ice off the sidewalk anymore. Get rid of that thing. You're never going to reach up with a 6-foot instrument and try and trim a branch. Get rid of it. Friends, one of the aspects of this is looking through your house and saying, do I use it? Do I need it? And then the important question, what meaning does it have for me today? One more story. I was married to a wonderful man for a number of years. He was in the diplomatic service. We lived on 5 different continents. I learned 3 other languages, and we entertained a lot. So I had a huge subscription to Gourmet magazine, and I saved every single copy. After we divorced, and I decided that I was going to go to Unity School to become a minister, I had a 3-year stack of Gourmet magazines. And I thought, well, Linda, you aren't going to be making dinner for 6, 8, or 12 people, or cocktail parties for 18 anymore. Do you need those magazines? No, I don't. And besides, I'm going to have to pay to move them to Kansas City from Washington, D.C. So I took them down to the incinerator room, and one by one popped them in. And then I will be totally honest, I went upstairs, sat down in my apartment in the living room, and cried my eyes out for 15 minutes. Because I had realized I let go of a piece of my life that had identified me. Oh, she's a good diplomatic spouse. She entertains well. She's a competent cook. She's a linguist. She filled in the blanks with comments about how I was showing up in the world and saying, it's unlikely that I'm ever going to have to walk into a room again full of people whom I don't know, stick out my paw, introduce myself in one of 3 languages, and carry on a conversation. Not going to happen. You know what? Hasn't. The other day at the hospital for a blood draw, I actually did get to say a few words in Spanish to a visiting student doctor who was accompanying my doctor on his rounds, and he said, I'm from Peru, and I immediately hit him with a couple of Spanish words. He was like, thank you, God, that I remembered them. So we look at that which we have been and done, and then we look at that, but till that morning. Friends, that morning is here. That morning is here. It's here right now, today. When we wake up tomorrow morning, we're going to say, who am I going to be? Because it's be, do, have, not do, have, be. It's be. Understanding that the Christ presence within us is the source of all of our intelligence, energy, and ability. Be. Am I going to be cheerful? Am I going to be kind? Am I going to wave at cars trying to make a left turn? And stuff like that. You know what my favorite one is? Some guy standing there shifting from foot to foot with one bunch of bananas in his hand in the checkout line, like, oh my God, the kids are sitting home waiting for bananas, and his wife is saying, so where are you already? And I look at him, I go, would you like to go ahead? I got a whole way I get here. Oh, thank you so much. How hard was that? There's a risk, yes, but how hard was it? Not at all. Not at all. Friends, none of these things are difficult to do. Number one, God is infinite abundance. So we know that our daddy's rich. And we know that the feminine aspect, the feminine energy within God, represents all the beauty in the world. That includes our flowers, our trees, our kitties, our dogs, our parakeets, our canaries, our goldfish, and every blade of grass that is growing, and our chickens. Yes, thank you for reminding me about the chickens. Thank you. Thank you. I still have the cup that says naughty. Okay, anyway, that's a private joke. Friends, this talk was not exactly where I intended for it to go, but it went at the direction of spirit. Because my intent was kind of to get in there and chastise you. So where are you? Well, it's the same old crowd on there, and it's the same old crowd in here. And I'm going, we cannot take a vacation from God, friends, because God is the essence of who we are. Can you take a vacation from church, which is to say, coming to the place, engaging with the people? You can. But why would you want to? Because here's where the love is. Here's where the caring is. Here's where the comfort is. And here's where each one of us has the opportunity to be that love, to be that caring person, to bless one another. So taking a vacation from God? I don't think so, folks. You know, it's interesting. Next Sunday is Father's Day. That's nice. I usually do something to remember my dad. The first year after he passed away, I took myself out for a really nice lunch. And the waiter and I had a conversation. And he said, so what are you doing today? And I said, I'm out for lunch with the spirit of my dad. He passed last year. The waiter looked at me and went, I understand. That connection, friends, humanity, human being to human being. So if your dads are gone, and looking around in this room, I'm guessing in most cases, our fathers are in the next dimension. But that doesn't mean they are absent from us, because the whole of creation is within the infinite power and presence of God. So do something nice next Sunday. Now, it also happens to be the summer solstice, which is the official start of summer. Well, it's the solstice. Actually, it is the longest day. And would you believe it that my eldest son, the one that lives in Scotland, you know, where I have my only they got married on that day? It stayed light forever. I thought the party was never going to end. I think it was 3 o'clock before we finally went to bed, especially in Scotland, where the night is barely dark, folks, at that time of year. So finally get into bed about 3 o'clock in the morning, and about 4:45, the room fills with bright light. I thought, oh my God, the place is on fire. No, the sun had risen again. Not that sun, but the sun in the sky, who we know, and which we know is at the will of our beloved Father. So I'd like us to close with a little meditation on this. I'd like us to close by beginning to imagine that now is morning. I will invite you to close your eyes, to breathe in and breathe out. It is morning, and God's voice within you, which amazingly sounds like your own voice, says, "Beloved, awaken, for I am calling you. You have rested in my peace all night, and it is time for you to rise up in your thought, in your word, and in your deed. You can do this because I am the essence of who you are. No matter what you look like, no matter your gender, no matter your color, no matter whether you have straight or kinky hair, you are short or you're tall, it doesn't matter. You are made in my image and likeness. Yahweh and Shekhinah are your parents. The masculine and the feminine energies of organization, power, and love and support are united within you by my presence. Beloved, in my world, the living is easy, for I am infinite wealth. I am infinite beauty, and you are made in my image and likeness. Now look within yourself and ask, what can I do this morning that is different? What choice will I make? What word will I speak? What gesture? How will I be that you may be seen in the world? What will I say to another and to myself that you may be heard in the world? And I'm not scared. I'm not scared, and I'm not going to cry, because Daddy and Mammy are standing within. Let us affirm these words by being led in the Lord's Prayer.